For years, I've traveled the world with my camera, but this is the journey I never imagined I'd get to take. I knew this would be one of the wildest adventures I'd ever set out on, but nothing prepares you for the moment you see it. Towering peaks, endless ice, and wildlife in every direction. This is my expedition to one of the most remote and surreal places on the planet, a place unlike anywhere else on Earth. This is Antarctica. Our journey starts on the infamous Drake Passage, one of the most treacherous waterways in the world. I won't lie, I was a little nervous about crossing the Drake, but the anticipation for what's on the other side completely outweighed the nerves. I'm super excited to be back on board with Quark Expeditions, and on this trip, we're sailing on the Ultramarine, a state-of-the-art ship specifically designed for polar expeditions. We spent some time settling into our cabin, trying on our new parkas, and catch a few lectures about the history of Antarctic explorers. It usually takes around 2 days to cross the Drake Passage, depending on the weather, so we had some time to relax before hitting the outer decks. Thankfully, our crossing was relatively calm, and the stabilizers on the Ultramarine made those 7-meter waves feel surprisingly smooth. Even with the howling winds and crashing waves, there's a strange calm in the chaos, and standing out on deck surrounded by the endless ocean feels really peaceful. As icebergs drift by and land comes into view, we finally made it, my first glimpse at the 7th continent. The shapes of the ice were mesmerizing, glowing blue in the soft morning light. We slowly move towards Enterprise Island, and off the bow of the ship, we spot hundreds of penguins porpoising through the water. And then, humpback whales in every direction. I really had no idea where to point my camera. We load up for our first Zodiac cruise, and only moments after leaving the ship, one of the most spectacular things happens. A whale fluking only a few feet from our Zodiac. We drift among nearby icebergs and spot a few Gentoo penguins resting on the ice, a moment I've been so excited to photograph. Enterprise Island used to be a popular whaling site, and there still remains of a vessel that sank here back in the early 1900s. The rusted hull of the sunken vessel still juts out of the water, and is now home to Arctic terns who rest along its beams. We make our way back to the Ultramarine and enjoy the sweeping views as we set sail towards our next destination. One of the reasons I'm so excited to be sailing on the Ultramarine is because of the toys they have on board. This afternoon is one I'll never forget. It really is hard to describe the feeling of flying above Antarctica. I felt this mix of excitement, disbelief, and gratitude all at once. While the rest of the passengers take to the skies, we head out on yet another Zodiac cruise to explore the surrounding area, and quickly find some lazy crab-eater seals resting on an iceberg. One of my favorite parts of these expeditions is that you never know what you'll see out there, and each Zodiac cruise is so different from the last. As the sun begins to set, I chose to take some quiet time away from the other passengers to head out on deck and reflect on what we've just experienced. Days like these are what I dreamt about when I first started chasing adventures, and this is one that I'll cherish forever. Morning brings another promise of clear skies for the day ahead, and we're surrounded by epic peaks with low clouds slowly drifting by. As I take a sip of coffee, I notice something in the water right next to the ship. Humpback whales start to surround us, and as the sun begins to rise, the golden light glows across the water. In every direction, the peaks begin to light up, and we can't help but to run around the ship, completely overwhelmed by what was happening in front of us. Our first Zodiac landing is at Palaver Point, a small island where we're greeted by dozens of friendly local penguins. Home to a colony of chinstrap penguins, these little guys waddle around on the rocks and ice, completely unbothered by our presence. Like most penguins, chinstrap penguins take micronaps, usually lasting just a few seconds long at a time. They can have around 10,000 micronaps per day, equating to about 11 hours of sleep. They share the area with fur seals, who stretch out and lounge on the rocks, occasionally arguing with each other in low grumbles. Watching them interact alongside the penguins makes the whole scene feel so chaotic in the best possible way. We float through some nearby brash ice, listening to the crackling sounds on the hull and feeling so small beneath the towering ice around us. I take a minute to warm up in the sauna and watch the ice drift by the ship as we make our way to our next destination. But before we even arrive, I couldn't resist running back out on deck to capture the stunning chunks of ice in the soft afternoon light. We arrive at Portal Point, our first time actually stepping foot on the true continent of Antarctica. A couple of the passengers chose to get married here, which made the whole landing feel even more special. Shortly afterwards, we choose a spot to do what some of the expedition guides call quiet time, switching off the engine, closing your eyes, and listening to the true sound of Antarctica. And what came to follow was incredible. The silence was broken by the spout of a mother and calf who circled around us curiously, flicking tails and floating by just a few feet away from the Zodiacs. This went on for so long that I was able to put the camera down and just be completely present, enjoying this special moment with these beautiful creatures. As we wake to another calm morning, we've anchored in Mikkelson Harbor. This sheltered bay has a fascinating history, and was once a hub for early Antarctic explorers and whalers. Today, it's a popular stop for expedition ships, a place where wildlife thrives and home to a colony of Gen 2 penguins. For most of these chicks, this is their first time seeing humans. Gen 2 penguins begin their breeding season in the austral spring and summer, with adults typically building pebble nests and laying 2 eggs around October and November. We explore the colony and take a closer look at the refuge hut. These emergency shelters are painted bright red so they stand out against the endless snow, but I can't help but smile and think that they've just been painted to match the beaks of these Gen 2 penguins. Something I was most excited about for this trip was seeing penguins on ice, and during our afternoon we came across this iceberg covered with dozens of Gen 2 penguins. And just as we thought it couldn't get any better, a pod of orcas appeared nearby, circling through the water and adding another layer of awe to this already unforgettable scene. Surrounded by brash ice, I stayed on the outer decks to capture the quiet as the rest of the passengers warm up inside. The only sounds were the gentle clinking of ice against the hull and distant calls of seabirds. It's in these slow and peaceful moments that I find so much inspiration, and often where I feel the most creative. We set out in the Zodiacs to float amongst the ice, and come across one of the clearest and most unique pieces of ice I've ever seen. Cierva Cove is home to an Argentinian refuge, with tens of thousands of Gentoo penguins nesting along the cliffs. We watch from the Zodiac as they launch themselves into the water, each one encouraging the next. The whole scene is so chaotic and joyful. Thousands of penguins waddling around, diving into the water, and the constant chatter of the colony filling the air.
Good morning, Ultramarine. It is 7:30 on the 26th of February. Our current position is 64 degrees, 28 minutes south, and 63 degrees, 12 minutes west. We have arrived at our morning destination of Patagonia Bay. Ultramarine is surrounded by glaciers, and we've seen some wildlife in the water, including seals, and also some sightings of whales.
Our final day in Antarctica brings a mix of awe and bittersweet feelings. We spend the morning in the Zodiacs cruising past immense glaciers, spotting seals lounging on the ice, and taking in the last of the quiet beauty that makes this place so special. We gather on the outer deck to make a toast to our journey, raising our glasses to celebrate the incredible experiences, friendships, and memories we've made over the past days. We spend the next couple of days crossing the Drake Passage, watching the waves and reflecting on everything we've just experienced. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, and maybe I never will. As our Antarctic adventure comes to a close, I can't help but feel grateful for the places I get to see and the people I meet along the way, and the reminder of just how wild this beautiful planet really is. Every time I wrap up a trip like this, I leave feeling inspired, humbled, and even more curious about what's still out there to explore. I'm so deeply thankful for the chance to explore this extraordinary place, and to Quark Expeditions for making this adventure possible. This really was the trip of a lifetime, and one that I'll never forget.